Hello and welcome to Careers Talks Live with the Young Project and with Max. And so today we are going to be with James Pipe from Trent Bridge. How are you doing, James?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Max. Thank you. Yeah, really good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not so bad. Thank you very much.
Good, good.
So yeah, we're just going to kind of learn a bit about your career and what that involves and kind of a bit about everything really. So do you want to just start off by telling us kind of who you are, what your job title is, and what your job actually entails?
Yes, certainly, mate. So my name's James Pipe. I'm the physiotherapist here at Nottinghamshire, or one of the physiotherapists here at Nottinghamshire County Cricket Club. So yeah, I've been here for 4 years now, mate, and love every minute. Good fun.
So what does, I mean, because maybe I'm being naive here, but I'm not exactly sure what a physiotherapist actually does. So, I mean, people probably here have a better idea than I do, but to anyone who's not familiar, just want to explain exactly what a physiotherapist actually does.
Yes, certainly, certainly. So in a nutshell, all we do is help people. That's what we do, really. We sort of see patients with a wide range of conditions, whether that's something to do with the nervous system, whether that's after following a really bad injury, a head injury, or some sort of disease or illness, or certainly what I work in now at the minute, Max, in terms of sporty type injuries. But physiotherapy as a profession, it covers a wide range of areas. Certainly more areas than I really knew about when I first started to study to become a physio, to be honest, mate. I didn't really understand, or have an appreciation for how wide the scope of practice is for a physio. But in my particular field, mate, we deal with any injuries to bones, to soft tissue, ligaments, tendons, muscles. But cricket's a particularly exciting sport to work in because you get the traumatic injuries you see in sports like rugby or collision sports. And you also get the overuse sort of repetitive type injuries that you get in more long distance sports. So we pretty much deal with anything from the big toe to the head when somebody gets whacked by the ball in the head. So it's a really exciting sport to work in, and it's a privilege to rock up every day to work and be able to help people, mate. That's the main thing about being a physio.
Awesome. So just a question for everyone kind of watching, if you just want to kind of answer this all in the chat while we're talking, how many of you guys are interested in physiotherapy or in that kind of field as a career? If you just want to kind of write that in the chat. And while you're doing that, just kind of ask you like how you got to where you are today. Because I know there's quite a lot of kind of young people who want to be a physiotherapist and they want to kind of get into that, but it's like, what's the route? How do you kind of go about doing that?
Well, I think firstly what I'd say is that there's a number of routes to get into physio. Like I say, I think you're kind of born with a desire to help people and to make a difference and not change people's lives, but certainly have a positive impact in people's lives on a day-to-day basis. That's a great honour and privilege. So I think if you really want to do that badly, you'll find a route to get there. I'm always a big believer that if you want to achieve something, you can, you scrap and you fight, you do what it takes to sort of achieve what you want to do. So I certainly had an underlying want or need to help people. That's what kicked it off for me. But I was actually a player, Max. I played sports. I grew up playing cricket and rugby league.
Wow.
Back home in Bradford. Loved it to bits, and I was lucky enough to play cricket professionally. I was really fortunate. So I went to I wasn't a great achiever at school. I worked hard and probably I put everything to my sport, really. I wasn't a brilliant student at school. I was very sporty. But I was always fascinated, I guess, in science. I had a real love for science as a kid. So if I wasn't doing science or playing sport, I was pretty lost. But no, so I was a player and I got a bad head injury. I got hit in the head. I got hit in the head by the ball. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to continue playing. I fractured my cheekbone. I lost my sight for 7 weeks or so, where I didn't know if I was going to be able to continue playing as a young player. So I needed to find another career to back up my career as a professional cricketer. And I just love helping people. I love sports medicine or physiotherapy, science. Like we said before, I love sports. It seemed a pretty natural thing for me to do, was to sort of look to become a physio. And honestly, man, I've loved every minute, right from the minute I signed on the course to do at university to now sort of 15, 20 years down the line. I love it to bits. So much fun.
So you, to go from like being a professional player into actually becoming a physio, what steps did you take? Did you go to, you said you went to university. Was there anything else before that or in the lead up to that, or was that kind of it really?
Yeah, no, definitely not. So I was always, I left school at 16. I left school at 16. I got a couple of GCSEs, like I said, but I didn't break any pots. But I went to pursue my professional playing career. But I was always wary that I had a lot of time on my hands. Young single bloke with a lot of time on my hands. And I was always keen to keep that academic side going. So when I was a player, like a young academy player, I made sure I did my day release. I went to college. It really wasn't even related. It was in business and finance, so nothing related with that.
It's very, very different, isn't it?
Yeah, really diverse. But it was what was available to us as academy players at Yorkshire at the time, when we could go off and do our 1 day week learning. So I came out with, I can't remember, back in the old days, mate, it was the equivalent of 2 A-level C's, I guess. And then as I progressed in my playing career, I really enjoyed the physicality of it. I enjoyed the physical side. So I did a bit of, I did like a diploma in strength and conditioning, actually, in personal training. Really enjoyed that side. And I guess that opened me up more to the injury side, really, and the body's response to injury and illness. And I got pretty hooked on that. And like I say, then that sort of coincided with me getting a smash in the head and needing to find a avenue of income potentially. My playing career was over, so I applied to go to university, and because I'd been quite active through my playing career, like I say, I did this BTEC national it was, and I did an HND in leisure studies, which again it showed to the university that I had a commitment to learning, and I think with my background with play, I think it certainly helped as well. So I went for an interview, first interview I've ever had to go for to try and get on the course, because places were pretty competitive at the time. I think they were reasonably competitive. So I was lucky enough to get on the course. They took a bit of a punt in me, I guess, at university, and I was fully committed to it, and hopefully, I enjoyed it, mate.
Awesome. So I think we've got one person that they're really interested in physiotherapy, which is great, which means they're in the right place, which is excellent. So that's good. You what, sorry?
So I hope I don't put them off.
No, I'm sure you'll be fine. So I think we've kind of covered, like, in terms of like what qualifications that you have, but something that I'm kind of interested in and maybe will help some of the people here is, do you need a degree to get to be a physio, or are there other kind of ways in?
Yeah, no, you do, Max. So physiotherapy it's obviously a vocational qualification, but if you do it full time, it's a 3-year degree. Because I fortunately for me, my vision returned, and I was able to continue playing a professional career. So I studied part-time at the University of Salford it took me 5.5 years, I think, to complete. And it was, I'll be honest, mate, it was a tough slog for those 5.5, 6 years. You get up at like 5:30 in the morning, do your training, then you go to lectures, or you'd be on the hospital awards from like 8 till 4:35, whatever. Then you go back and do your skills work at night. So it was long days, and then weekends were like catching up, doing essays or studying for exams. So it was really hard doing the 2 careers, because you had to be really committed to both. But I just saw it as a real short-term period in my life where I was just gonna have to roll my sleeves up and knuckle down. And if I wanted to get to where I wanted to get to, I was gonna have to make a few sacrifices. So I just smashed it for 5-6 years, mate, and hopefully it's well worth it.
Yeah, that sounds brutal, to be fair.
Yeah.
So go on, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, you're right. Yeah, it was.
Do you have any advice or tips for anyone wanting to become a physio?
I think I'd just be prepared for a whole lot of hard work. Initially, it's obviously when like if you want to achieve anything, you don't get anything without a bit of graft and a bit of hard work, do you? So I guess you've got to be prepared to work hard. But like I say, if you've got this under-driven willingness to help and make a positive impact on people's lives, then you're in the right place, and you'll find a way to get there. No doubt about it. But yeah, just read around. There's lots of information. The Chartered Society Physiotherapy website is really useful for giving background information about the profession and what they do, and it's such a wide scope. I went into, if I'm being honest, I went into the profession thinking I was going to work in professional sport, and full enough, it was where I've ended up. But do you know what? During that journey to becoming a physio over those 5.5, 6 years, I could have quite easily veered off to work in neurology with stroke patients, or traumatic patients who had suffered traumatic brain injuries, or I could have worked in cardiorespiratory with people who were suffering with respiratory type conditions. I could work in paediatrics with kids. I could have worked care elderly. I just loved helping people, period. And that was that. And it just coincided that I kind of ended up where I am, really, mate. I guess you find your own journey eventually, but I just love the whole profession, mate.
And I mean, that kind of nicely leads on to my next question of like, would you recommend the route that you took? I mean, as you said, there's a lot of different ones out there. And I guess, as you say, it's different for everyone. But would you kind of recommend the route that you did take? Or, I don't know, would you prefer to do a different route if you were to do it again? I don't know.
Well, I guess I didn't really have a choice if I wanted to, because my ambition growing up as a kid, I wanted to play cricket for England. That's what I wanted to do first and foremost, and I gave everything I could to that career to pursue that dream. And I always think you can look back, mate, with great pride and satisfaction if you know you've committed 100% to something. You've done it to the best of your ability. So of course, looking back, there are things with hindsight and experience that you do differently. But I guess at the time, as long as you can look back and think you committed all you could and did all you could to the cause, that's quite satisfying. So I think all I would say is that if you leave school without any qualifications, or you don't get the grades to get in initially, it's a long life, and it's a heck of a long time to work from when you leave school to when you retire at 65. So what I would say is it's never too late. Like I say, if you're born with that underlying want or desire to help people, you'll find a way to get there. And whether that's you work a part-time job or you have to go back to college or night school, or whatever, to get what qualifications you need to get on the course, you'll find a way. If you want it bad enough, you find a way, definitely.
Great. And again, I think this might be an interesting question, because and a lot of jobs, it's different every day. But I was going to say, what does a typical day look like for you? Is there such thing as a typical day? I don't know.
No, it's just really exciting. Every day is really exciting, and you just don't know what you're going to get thrown at you. It's so exciting. And here at Nottinghamshire, you're working in an environment which demands you to get better every day. But that's just the vibe that's around the change room. So unless it doesn't stop. Your learning doesn't stop when you finish. Your learning really just starts when you get your degree. If I'm being honest, then you learn, and because it's such, like I say, such a big area, you can choose your own learning. So you might want to, learn a course about how you do spinal manipulations, or it might be something to do with rehab, or it could be some other sort of manual therapy, or taping, strapping. It's just endless. You can keep. I could literally go on. You could learn, read journals or whatever till the day you retire. You'll never get. It's like a never-ending road, really. But yeah, my day here, I can rock up, and some days it can go smoothly, like you think it will. Other days you'll just have 10 blokes going, not 10 blokes hopefully, but you'll have a couple of injuries to deal with, or you might have no one wants to see them get seriously injured, but when you do, you get the opportunity to help them. So it's kind of exciting. Now, you don't know, like you say, mate, you don't know what's ahead of you. And of course, working in sport, let's face it, you live and breathe every ball. You want your team to win, and you're successful, and you get so tight with your teammates and your mates, and you'll do anything to win a trophy. So you're constantly just supporting each other, helping each other, and trying to drive each other on to be better and achieve the success that this club deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll throw in another question for the people kind of in the chat again here. Of those, so whoever's interested in physiotherapy, are you guys interested in sports physiotherapy specifically, or are you just kind of interested in physiotherapy as a whole? And if you kind of answer that, we'll move on to the next question while everyone's answering that. What would you say was like the biggest factor that helped you in your journey?
Definitely support, 100% support. I was really lucky. She's my girlfriend at the time. She's my wife now. But I've just had the most unbelievable support from my wife that you can ever imagine. Because, like I say, it's such a big commitment. still is such a big commitment, and she knows how much I love it, and she backs me and supports me, and all the way. And without that support, honestly, Max, I wouldn't be a physio. I'd be doing something else that didn't require such a commitment. So I've been really lucky, mate, to have that support and encouragement. And I'm from a strong family as well, mate. From a really tight family. My mum and dad, we didn't have a lot. We what we had our strong ties, relationships, and values, and they were so supportive as well. So without family around me, without that support, that would have been a lot harder, no doubt about it. So if friends, family, it has been very useful. Brilliant for me, mate.
Amazing. And I think the one thing that I'm picking up from you certainly is the fact, like, dedication is possibly one of the best things, and like the biggest thing that's kind of gonna help. And I think once people have, for example, the people in the chat here who are saying about like physiotherapy and they're interested in sport physiotherapy, once you've decided on that, and then it's about your dedication, I suppose, and kind of following your path, and as you said, kind of doing whatever you can to get to where you want to be, isn't it, I suppose?
It is, and also it's all about, everything's all about the patient or the player. So for a player, or a patient in clinic, whatever, for them to put their trust in you, and their spill the heart, put their life on the line in some cases for you. When our lads go out there and they've got somebody running in, balling 90 miles an hour at the head or at the throat, we know it can be a really dangerous sport, and it horrible to say, but there's got to be such a big trust there in your physio. So if you weren't trying to be the best you could possibly be, and you had the worst case scenario and you weren't prepped up for it, you just couldn't live with yourself. Same in clinic. If you miss something on a patient and it led to something horrible, you just never. I personally, mate, I'd never be able to forgive myself. So I like to be able to rock up, whether I'm doing a private clinic or whether I'm NHS days or working here. I want to rock up to work knowing I'm fully prepped up to the best of my ability, so I can give that patient everything they need to get better and be the best they can be. Because, like I said, quality of life for people is so important. For them to put their trust into you is a huge honour, and I don't know, I feel extremely humbled by that still. So as long as I'm a physio and people are putting their trust in me, and I'll always do my best for them and do what you can to make them better.
Amazing. So kind of on the other end of the spectrum to my previous question, what would you say was like your biggest obstacle so far in getting to where you are today in your career, and like how did you overcome that?
I think managing my time was definitely a big obstacle for me. It's such a long period, and there are times when you can't see the wood for the trees. To be honest, it's hard. But like I say, having that support from family, from my wife, from the family was definitely key. So I think managing my time and your mates and family, just understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it for, and allowing you to have that time to do it. But like I say, when you really sit down and analyse, we've probably got a bit more spare time than what we would think, haven't we? And I think if you can structure your life so you maximise or prioritise what's important to you, and I think that's definitely. So I would say time management, mate. I think I'm still learning it at the minute, if I'm being honest. I struggle to say no to people. And you want to help out the best you can. So definitely time management would be my one.
Yeah, I think that's a key skill in any job. Like, I think, even as you say, in sports physiotherapy, not only in kind of, in getting there, but even when you're there as well, because obviously players are on a fixed schedule, don't have different appointments, and you've got lots of people to see within the day. So you've got to get things done efficiently and in a timely manner, but also, as you say, people are putting their trust in you. So, you can't put any lack of quality in there. You've got to balance the quality and the quantity. And, I think, as you say, that is a key thing, but also it goes beyond that, because whatever job that you go into, you're going to have like different priorities and tasks, and like you're always going to have to balance your time. So I think that's a really key skill that you've highlighted there.
definitely.
And so if you had to do anything again, would you change anything? And if so, what would you change?
Honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. I think your experiences probably make you what you are, and I wouldn't change a thing. There's been some really tough times getting there, and lived some tough experiences being a physio as well. It's some, like I say, you wouldn't wish injury or illness on anyone, but it definitely helps shape you as a person and a practitioner. So I probably wouldn't change anything for that. There's definitely things I'd do smarter. But I guess, you what is it? Conor McGregor, the great Conor McGregor. You either win, what is it? You win or you learn.
Oh, I've not heard that one.
One of his interviews, you win or you learn. Of
Oh,
course, you learn as well when you win, but some of your greatest lessons can be when you do it a bit tough, or you don't quite, you reflect back on what you've done, and it's, you think about, you might do things smarter or differently next time. So yeah, there'll be, if we sat down and analysed it, there'd be things today I'd definitely change if I could go back and do it again. And that's the same every day, isn't it, when we review and reflect on our performance. But that's a big part of learning, mainly that reflective cycle. You sit back at the end of the day, or after you've done something, and reflect on it and think how you might approach it differently next time round. And it's all the fun of learning that.
yeah. And I feel like you can almost read my questions, because I've got one more question, and it kind of directly links into what you've just said, which is, what is the most important lesson that you've learned so far in your career?
Oh.
It's a tough question, I have to say, but
I think so. There's probably a couple. There's probably a couple.
Mhm.
I think certainly. I'll say a couple that are probably transferable, mate.
Mhm.
Probably transferable. So I think having a balanced life is definitely healthy. I think the danger is that especially when you sort of have a family and things like that, it's really important that you manage to balance things out, so you get that quality time with your family as well, mate. I think otherwise you can burn out, definitely in our profession, because we work long hours. Fixtures come thick and fast in the summer, so learning to switch off and recharge, however you want to do that, if that's with family, if it's whatever you need to do that. But that'd be one for me, mate. Just making sure that you don't burn out, and you give yourself a chance to recharge a little bit. I think the other one, the biggest lesson for me, and it's not a lesson from a mistake, but I've just been in so many scenarios where, especially sort of the clinical scenarios, where you see patients where it's not great news, and when you've been thorough in your assessment, you've maybe identified something which has been quite important to them for whatever reason, and then you refer them on to the appropriate pathways. But I think it's just being thorough in everything. I guess it just comes back to being thorough in everything you do. So don't ever take things for granted. Always be really thorough in your processes, and don't leave any stone unturned. And if you do that, then, like I say, you're always doing right by everyone. If you always give everyone your best, you're always doing right by everybody, and you can sleep at night.
Perfect. I think that's an excellent answer. So those are all of the questions that I have for you. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Careers Talks Live. Check out all of the social links as well, where you can find out all the information about the other things that we support with. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one.